Hi all, this is Vijay Patil, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Vivekananda College of Engineering Technology, Puttur. In this session, we are going to study about major important three aspects, that is the force, torque, and pressure measurement in mechanical components or mechanical machines. Basically, we know that force, torque, pressures are usually involved in all the mechanical machines, components, or any fluid measurements. So these are very important, and how to measure them we are going to discuss here. Basically, we know that in general we know that force is nothing but it can be a pull or push, and it is nothing but force equal to mass into acceleration, and it is expressed in terms of Newton. It is represented as a vector and as a point of application. That means force is having a magnitude as well as direction. A unit force is called as a Newton, and the SI unit for a force is Newton. And measurement of force involves determination of its magnitude as well as direction. That means force is having both magnitude as well as direction. We know that force can be measured with its magnitude as well as direction. So how to measure the force? Two different techniques are there. That means one with a direct comparison, another with the indirect comparison. Direct comparison, that means some form of B balance with the null balance technique is used. Analytical balance is the best example for the direct comparison. Indirect comparison involves the force is attenuated through some system of levers, so that the smaller weight is used to balance the force. That means the whatever the force is to be measured, that means that is attenuated by the some of the levers present in the measuring system. So through that one indirect comparison is made. Let us know what is the analytical balance systems. In this figure you can see the equal arm balance is there. That means two pan X and pan Y are there to hold the weights, and there is a pointer which is going to give the readings on engraved scales, and there is a pivot and arm. So with this diagram we can figure out what is the sensitivity of the pointer. We can find out if you take the analytical balance pointer on the scale, you can see dB and dg and L are the lengths, W1, WB, W2 are the weights, and G is the center of gravity, and pointer is going to read out the engraved scales, and that's how it is going to give the reading. Let us find out the sensitivity of this pointer. On that diagram we can see that the direction of force is parallel to that of gravitational force, and only its magnitude needs to be determined. We are going to find out its magnitude as well as its sensitivity. We are going to find out where O is the balance arm rotates about this point, and W and W2 are the two forces acting on of the arm. W and W2 are the forces acting on the two arms or the two pans. W1 is the known force and W2 is the unknown force, and G is the center of gravity. WB is the weight of balance arm and pointer acting at the G. G is the center of gravity. We know that sensitivity can be determined by the angular direction deflection per unit balance between the two weights. That means W and W2 are the weights placed on the pans, and it's a unbalance between two weights W1 and W2. Whatever the angular balance is there, that is related to the weight that is placed on the two pans. So sensitivity is given by theta divided by W1 minus W2. That means theta divided by delta W. Difference between the two weights is nothing but delta W. So sensitivity is nothing but theta divided by delta W. Let us find out how to get the sensitivity. See, sensitivity equation can be written by taking the equilibrium equation. That means by taking the weight 1 at the pan X and weight 2 at the pan Y, and WB is the weight at the center point of the pointer. By taking all these and by taking the lengths into consideration, let us the equilibrium equation is written as W1 into L cos theta minus dB sin theta equal to W2 L cos theta plus dB sin theta plus WB dg sin theta. By rearranging this equilibrium equation, you are going to get the sensitivity. Let us make some assumptions. That means sin theta is approximately equal to theta and cos theta equal to 1. Then the equation becomes W1 by arranging the further equation, above equation we will get W1 into L minus dB theta equal to W2 into L plus dB theta plus WB dg theta. W1 minus L minus W1 dB theta equal to W2L plus W2 dB theta plus WB dg theta. By solving this equation, so we are able to get the theta value. Theta, if you rearrange the equation, if you solve it, you will get the theta equal to W1 minus W2 into L divided by W1 plus W2 into dB plus WB into dg. So this is the theta what we are getting from the above equilibrium equation. Let us find out the sensitivity. Sensitivity, we know that it is given by theta divided by delta W, that means W1 minus W2. And if you equate the theta equation here, you are going to get S equal to L divided by W1 plus W2 into dB plus WB into dg. This is the sensitivity equation you are going to get. Suppose in a near equilibrium, if your near equilibrium condition is there, at that time W1 equal to W2, that is approximately equal to W. That means the difference between W1 and W2 is almost equal to the actual weight W. Hence S equal to theta divided by delta W, that is again equal to L divided by 2W dB plus WB into dg. And this is the sensitivity equation from the analytical arm. So thus the sensitivity of balance will be independent of the weight W provided. That means whatever the weight you are going to provide, that is independent, and it is designated by such that dB equal to 0. In this equation dB will becomes 0, so sensitivity equal to L divided by WB into dg. The sensitivity depends on the construction parameters of the balance arm, and it is independent of weights being compared. And sensitivity of balance increases by decreasing both dg and WB and increasing the length. That means sensitivity of the balance, that is increased by decreasing both dg and WB, and if you are going to increase the length, then the sensitivity of the balance will increase. So these are some examples of analytical balance. And let us study what is unequal arm balance. That means this diagram depicts that there is a force Ft, and that means a test force is applied, and there is a lever, and there is a knife edge, and loading arm is there, and a power arm is there, and a pointer is attached to the beam for a leveling, and there is a scale, and to which the mass M is attached with a Fg force acting at the downwards. And how to get the balance moments for this one, that is Ft into A equal to Fg into B. Test force Ft equal to Fg into B by A. So by solving this one, you are going to get the equation the unequal arm balance is consisting of a horizontal scale on which the mass M and mounted with a force Fg, which force, this force is acting as a counterbalancing force to the test force Ft applied downwards at the lever, and there is a pointer attached to the horizontal scale with a knife edge Q, and the pointer is attached to beam for a leveling purpose, and there are some knife edges. Knife edge Q is there, and knife edge P is there on the top of the beam, on top of the lever, and load arm and power arm are there with the distances A and B. So let us find out force. Mass M acts as a power on the beam, which exerts a force Fg due to the gravity. That means Fg equal to M into G. On the right portion of the scale, you can see there is a Fg force is acting with a mass M. So that means Fg is given by M into G, and this acts as a counterposing force against the load which is applied at the test force. Beam is pivoted on the knife edge Q, and that means the knife edge Q which is attached to the horizontal arm on which the point is attached, and The test force Ft is applied by a screw or a lever through a knife edge P until the pointer indicates that beam is horizontal. That means the pointer P is attached on knife edge Q. Whenever the test force is applied to the lever at the bottom side at the downward moment, then the pointer is going to show that the beam is horizontal or not. So let us take the balance moments about test force as well as Fg force on the right hand side. By taking the moments Ft equal to test force and Fg equal to gravitational force, Ft into A equal to Fg into B. The test force Ft equal to Fg into B by A. Again Ft is given by M into G into B by A. Ft equal to constant into B. Thus the test force is proportional to distance B of the mass from the knife edge P. This is an example of a lever arm, unequal lever arm balance system, and in the figure you can see this is the measurement system for unequal arm balance technique. And again compared to the analytical balance arm, unequal balance arm, there are another types of systems. That means platform balance or a multi-lever system. So this usually we can see in the storing the goods in the storehouses or in the railway stations in order to weigh the luggages, in order to weigh the components, in order to weigh the heavy machines or heavy storage components. You are going to use the multi-lever system. So multi-lever system usually look like this. There will be three weights, that means W1 and center weight W, and W2 will be acting, and they are placed on the platform with a pivoted ends, and there will be tension, that is T is applied on the lever, L-shaped lever that is holding the engraved scale, the beam scale, on which the pan is there with the WS. So let us see how to measure the force here. In these systems, the large weight W is measured in terms of two smaller weights, that means Wp into Ws. Wp is nothing but weight of poles, and Ws is the pan. Before the unknown load W is applied to the platform, the poise weight Wp is set at 0 beam scale, and adjustable counterpiece is adjusted to balance the initial 0 balance. The weight W can be replaced by two weights, that means W1 and W2, and it is entirely balanced by weight Ws in the pan. If you take the x, that means Ax equal to Wp divided by A. Wp, that means the beam scale is so divided that the moment of poise weight, Wp is a poise weight, by one scale division represents the force of x kg, then a poise moment of y scale division should be produce the same result as Wp placed on the pan at the end of the beam. That means whatever the weight you are going to place at the end of the beam with the pan, so that should be indicating the force into force of the x kg. So x equal to Wp divided by A. That means the poise weight is nothing but x into the distance A. This represents the relations that determine the required scale divisions on the beam for any poise weight Wp. And let us see the proving ring. Again another instrument to measure the force is usually used as a proving ring. Proving ring consisting of a circular ring, that is proving ring, and a vibrating reed and a micrometer wheel in order to measure the readings. So on the proving ring at the two sides, the compressive force is applied at both ends, and this is the picture that is used for a measurement of force. This is a proving ring. You can see there is a micrometer wheel is there, there is a vibration reed is there, and a proving ring is there surrounded with micrometers, and it is used for a calibrating tensile machine. High accurate measurement of large static loads may be obtained, and a proving ring is a circular ring of a rectangular cross section which may be subjected to tensile or compressive forces across its diameter. So usually the force on a proving ring is given by F equal to 16 divided by pi by 2 minus 4 by pi into EI divided by d cube into y, where F is the force, E is the Young's modulus of elasticity, I is the moment of inertia of the section, d is the outer diameter of the ring, and y is the deflection. And working, how it's going to work, how the probing ring will work. The deflection obtained is very small and it is used to measure the applied loads. Deflection is measured with the help of a precision micrometer attached inside the probing ring. Micrometer reading are obtained by the help of vibrating reed. Whatever the vibration is going to cast, that will make the moments, and by that displacement is measured with the help of a micrometer. To obtain the precise measurements on the edge of a micrometer is mounted on a vibrating reed of the device, which is plucked to obtain the vibratory motion. The micrometer spindle is advanced until the contact is indicated by a marked damped type of vibration. That means whatever the vibration is damped, that is measured when the micrometer spindle is advanced until the contact is indicated. Use the force measurement within a range of 1.5 kilonewton to 1.5 meganewton. This is the range of the probing ring. That means 1.5 kilonewton to 1.5 meganewton is the limit range that is prescribed for the use of probing ring. And about the torque, how to measure the torque, and what are the techniques are there to measure the torque, we are going to discuss. The torque is a measure of how much force acting on an object that causes object to rotate. That means whatever the twisting moments are there on a mechanical machine or any component, so that is nothing but torque. Torque is usually, we know that force into the radius, the perpendicular radius is nothing but a torque. It is expressed in terms of a Newton meter. The objects rotate about the axis, which will we will call the pivot point. Torque is associated with the determination of mechanical power, and power developed by a machine. Usually we know that P equal to 2 pi divided by 16 to 1000, which is expressed in terms of a kilowatt. The power of any machine, any mechanical machine, is determined by P equal to 2 pi nt divided by 16 to 1000, and T is the torque and is the force applied in Newton, and this is expressed in terms of kilo Newton. And what are the torque measuring devices are there? The torque measuring devices are usually known as dynamometers, and basically they are of three types. One is absorption dynamometer, and another one is driving dynamometers, and another one is transmission dynamometer. Absorption dynamometer, they absorb the mechanical energy as a torque which is to be measured, and they are going to measure the torque developed at the source, such as engines as well as electric motors. And driving dynamometers, these dynamometers measure power or a torque, and as well provide energy to the operated device to be tested, and they are useful in determining the performance characteristics of a device such as pumps and compressors. So driving dynamometers usually used to measure the torque in the pumps and compressors. And transmission dynamometers, so these are acting as a passive devices placed at the appropriate location within a machine or in between the machines to sense torque at that location. They neither add nor subtract the transmitted energy or a power, and are sometimes referred as the torque meters. So these are acting as a passive devices. So in between the machine or in between the machines, they will sense the torque at the prescribed locations, and they neither add or subtract the transmitted energy or power, and that means they are going to add the energy or they are subtract the energy. So they are referred as the torque meters. And this is a Prony brake. Usually we will call it as a Prony brake. This is one mechanical dynamometer to measure the torque, and you can see in the figure there is a circular rope which is surrounding the circular disc, and these are attached by lever arms, and one force is applied at the end of the beam with a distance L. Then there is a rope tightening alignment system is there. Whenever a torque is applied, the disc is going to make the movement. In the construction part, we will see the two wooden blocks are mounted diametrically opposite on a flywheel attached to the rotating shaft, whose power has to be measured. And one block carries the lever arm, and an arrangement is provided to tighten the rope which is connected to the arm. The rope is tightened so as to increase the frictional resistance between the blocks and the flywheel. Usually torque is in this diagram, torque is measured in terms of force into perpendicular distance, and power is measured by 2 pi d divided by 60, 2 pi FLN divided by 60 watts. What is the limitation of this phony brake or a mechanical dynamometer? It is difficult to adjust and maintain a specific load, requires continuous tightening of a clamp, therefore the system becomes unsuitable for measurement of large power, and it results in excessive temperature rise, which decreases the coefficient leading to failure of the brake. And if machine torque is not constant, then the measuring arrangement is subjected to oscillations. That means that if the torque is going to vary at all the times, then it is subjected to the oscillations, so then vibrations are not going to damp. That will lead to the breakage of the system. So we have to avoid the vibrations. We have to provide sophisticated dampers